As many of you well know, in a short amount of time, President Trump has done a lot of things that have upset a lot of people. The new rollback of transgender protections is just one of them, as is the immigration and deportation orders, and there is a lot more that we frankly don't have enough time for. Well, a new group of citizens have banded together to battle many of President Trump's policies. They've even issued a new version of the Declaration of Independence that focuses on the president's actions that they say raise serious constitutional issues and undermine American values. Norman Siegel is spearheading that effort, and he is a prominent civil rights attorney with Siegel, Teitelbaum and Evans. He's also former executive director of the New York Civil Liberties Union. He's kind enough to give us a few minutes. Norman, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Rich.
Well, this, I guess, part civics project, but also, I guess, articulating how serious you think some of the actions, executive orders, and dialogue coming from the White House are, that you're literally saying the Declaration of Independence and this president don't necessarily go hand in hand.
Right. What we're saying is we are declaring our independence from the policies and practices of President Trump. We're not declaring our independence from America. We love America. But when you take a look at the wording of not only the Declaration of Independence, but our Constitution and the Bill of Rights, it sets forth certain principles: free speech, free press, equality, opportunity, inclusion. And what the president has done with his executive orders on the immigration ban, on threatening cities that are sanctuary cities that they'll cut the federal funding, the idea of building a wall and not meeting the legal requirements, the idea of getting rid of the Johnson Amendment so that the churches and religious institutions can now be involved in partisan politics. There are Supreme Court decisions that say he can't do what he's telling the public he's going to do. So we want to have as many people go to declaration17.com, read what we wrote, see if you agree with us. In the next few weeks, we're going to go to public parks all across America, especially in New York, and have public readings of the Declaration and the Constitution and compare the words to what President Trump is proposing. We want to create hope. There's too many people who are frightened, too many people who are despondent. We've had dark days before in American history. We can prevail and we can overcome.
Just how dark do you think it is now? And I want to put it in reference, Norma. Obviously, you were vocal in support of impeachment of then-President Nixon. But in the intervening years, we've obviously seen other Republican presidents. Is what you're seeing out of Trump giving you much more pause than, let's say, during the Reagan years or during Bush 43 or 41 time periods? Give a context to just how nervous or how frightened you are by some of the dialogue and the actions of this commander-in-chief.
I'm extremely troubled, but because of my history, being in the South and seeing how we overcame the issue of race, seeing how we've dealt with women's rights, with the LGBT community's rights in America in the last half century, I'm confident, especially with the federal courts, that we'll stop what Trump is trying to do and uphold basic core American values. I'm wearing a wristband that says resist. I've never done stuff like this before. Rich, in answer to the question, I think the American public has to wake up. It's sort of like Paul Revere. I have to be riding through the streets saying, not only back then the British are coming, but Trump is coming, and he's coming to take away your rights. America, New Yorkers, wake up. Let's begin to organize. Let's do it legally. Let's do it peacefully. Let's do it effectively. And we have to make sure that we don't lose the America that we love.
Norman, we've seen with the town halls this week, we've seen with the protests, I'd say largely organically created. The question is, from your vantage point, into a political vacuum, are you comfortable just letting these, hoping these outbursts of protest just stay as that, or do you want them to be more directed? And I'm putting it in a political context right now because obviously we've seen at state houses, 30 some odd states have Republican governors and state legislatures, etc. Democrats right now are going to pick the next DNC chair. To have this thing be organized under a party I know is tricky, but if it's not, doesn't it just become white noise?
No, you know, on the partisan issue, when I was a young lawyer in the South, it was Republican federal judges that helped us uphold the constitutional rights of African Americans in the Deep South. It wasn't surprising that it was a Republican federal judge in Seattle that said no to Trump on the immigration ban. There are good people in all the different political parties. I think that we need to make sure that people understand that the protests that are occurring, we're not getting paid. We're doing it because we love the principles and values that our country stands for, and they're being threatened now. And second, the idea that this is all organized by a few people telling us what to do, it's not. The outpouring of protest is encouraging, and I think that ultimately it's the federal courts, probably because I'm a lawyer, that I look to them to say that on certain practices and policies and executive orders that President Trump is proposing, they are unconstitutional, like we saw with the Ninth Circuit with regard to immigration ban. The president calling the judge a so-called judge? Should I say he's a so-called president? I won't do that. That's demeaning. That's not the way we engage in debate and discussion in America. Don't engage in ad hominem attacks. Deal with the merits. And if we have to agree to disagree, but do not undo those basic principles. And most important to the people that are watching today and tonight, do not be silent. Speak up, challenge, and question. That's what Americans do.
Well, certainly the voice is very loud here, coast to coast on that front. And again, I want to remind people where they can go as it relates to a Declaration of Independence. Go to declaration17.com. Norman, I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Coming up next, everyone, we'll take a look at some local headlines, so please stay with us.